Hello friends, how are you all? I hope you all are doing very good. In this video, we are going to discuss most important questions that are being asked by CBSE on the topic DBMS and SQL. So database management system and as structured query language are the topic from where theory question is going to come. So what are those important questions of previous year that we are going to discuss in this video? Okay, fine. So let us move to our first question. Differentiate between DDL and DML command. Very simple question used to asked by CBSE in board exam papers. DDL means what? Data definition language. We all know the answers of such type of questions, but due to lack of practice and structured answer of the question, we are not able to get good marks in that. Like if you are having that question for 2 marks, you might get 1.5 or 1 marks due to only the problem that we are not writing it properly. So let us see the standard or model answer for these type of questions, which will help you to increase the marks in these type of theory questions that are being asked. We have already discussed in previous video the questions that are going to come from the programming part, like scope of the variable or functions, argument of the functions. So that video is already available on the channel. You can go and watch out. Please spend some time on the video, because if you come and see for only 1 minute or 1.5 minutes, you are not going to get anything. These are the educational videos. You cannot expect them to be a shorts where you come for amusement and after every 30 seconds you just scroll it up. So have patience and listen these videos. I definitely assure you, you are going to get help from these videos, and that will be giving greater results while you are writing exams. So let us see the answer. What is DDL? Data definition language. What is DML? So first difference is very obvious. We have taken it as full form of these commands like data definition language and a data manipulation language. So if it is asked like for 2 marks, how many differences you need to write? At least 4 differences, so that each difference will amount to equivalent half marks. So half marks will be there, half marks will be there, half marks will be there, and half marks will be there. Whenever you are writing answer for any question, if possible, try to mention the example, which actually enables the evaluator to understand that you know the concept very well. Next difference, it used to create the database schema. So what do we mean by schema? Structure of the database, table structure or database structure, that is called schema, and can be used to define some constraint. Constraint are restriction we put on the table or columns to restrict the entry of data in that particular column or table. Okay, so DDL commands used to define the structure of the table or database or schema of the database. It is used to add, retrieve or update the data. So what do we mean by retrieve? Get data back. So DML commands are used for adding data, displaying data, updating data and deleting data. It basically defines the column attribute of the table. Okay, so here you are defining the table name, column name, database name, or modifying it, the column name, adding data type, removing data type. All these things can be done through DDL commands. But in DML commands, it add or update the row of the table. These rows are called tuples. So I already explained it to you in the DBMS SQL videos. These rows are also called tuples, and records, columns are called fields and attributes. There are some example of the DDL commands like create, drop, rename and alter. The basic commands in DML are update, insert, okay, and we are going to use here what? Select, and we are going to use one more command, that is delete. Okay, so these 4 commands are very important, you have to keep in mind. So like that way, always write difference in tabular form, which will give exact answer or exact differentiation between 2 concepts which are being asked in the question. Let us move to the next question. What do we mean by the domain of the attribute? So there are some terminology for the DBMS you have to keep in mind, like what is attribute. So attribute, column and field are same. What is the domain? what is the row, tuple or record, what is entity. So this type of question may be asked. Here we are going to discuss what is domain. Let us see the answer for that. Domain of an attribute is the set or pool of values from which a value may come in the column. I hope from the definition it is very clear. Suppose you have the roll number column for which you are defining integer roll numbers. So now the domain for roll number column will become integer. No floating point value or decimal value can come in the roll number column. So domain are the set of or pool of values from where you draw the values in your column. Okay, like for section, if your school have 4 sections, like there are 2 example, domain of sections field may be ABCD if it is a 4 section school. If it is a 3 section school, so your domain will be ABC. You have to choose either one of the section in section field. You cannot randomly put any value. So the set or pool of value from where you can draw a value for your column is called what? Domain of that. Domain for stream field may be science, commerce and humanities. If your school having all 3 streams in your school, then science, commerce and humanities. Then stream field in your table, student table, may have one of these 3 value. It cannot have any random value. So that's called domain. That is a set or pool of value from where you pick a value for your column. I hope it is clear what is domain. Relation is also called table. Okay, fine. So relation and table both are same. Attribute, field and column all are same. Tuples and records and rows, these 3 are same. Let us move to the next question. What are the constraints in SQL? So constraint means what? Restriction. Okay, restriction you are putting somewhere. So constraints definition we will see. Constraints are used to limit the type of data that can go into the table. This ensures the accuracy and reliability of the data in the table. So if you like have age column for any employee or any student, so human age may vary from maybe from 1 year to 120 year. If someone is putting data into age column like 520 years, okay, or 500 years, what does it mean? That this is a wrong entry. Okay, so to avoid such type of wrong entries, we used to put constraints, okay, which restrict the type and the range of values which can be entered inside the column. So this type of things is called constraints in SQL. Like null values are not allowed for that particular column if it is a primary key. So you are going to use not null constraint. There are some examples of the constraint like primary key which have 2 properties, like all values must be unique, and next property is what? No column, no row in that particular column which is declared as primary key should have null in it. Null means what? Value not defined. Foreign key used to establish the relation. Not null constraint is going to tell that this particular column will not have null values. Default is going to specify the default value if value has not been supplied for that particular column. Unique constraint restrict the duplicate entries in that particular column. Check constraint, I have given the example of age. So here you can put check constraint to restrict or to specify the range of values that are allowed inside the age column. So I hope now it is clear what is the constraints in SQL. Constraints are used to limit the type of data that can go into the table. This ensures accuracy and reliability of the data in the table. So constraints helps us to make data accurate and reliable inside the table. Let us move to the next question. Differentiate between primary key, candidate key and alternate key. To understand the concept of keys, I have taken all these 3. Question may come like what is the difference between primary key or candidate key? Define primary key with example. Define candidate key with example. What is the difference between candidate key and alternate key? So all these type of question, the same answer can be written. Let us see first. This is the table. Now you see this table, and here we are going to see what? It has the client table, client ID column, name column, and we have address column and phone number column. As you can see, client ID will be different for all the clients, and mobile number can also be different for all the columns. So these two columns are satisfying two conditions. What are those? There are no null values inside them, and next one is what? There is no duplicate values. So these two conditions are satisfied for any column or set of column. If it is not satisfied for single column, we can take two columns together to make this property satisfied. Okay, so here we are going to have two columns such that which are satisfying these two properties. What are those columns? Client ID and phone number. You can say, sir, name and address are also different, but there can be repetition because two people can have the same name and same address also, but their client ID will always be different and phone number will always be different, and everyone should have phone number and everyone should have a client ID if it is entered in our table client. Fine. So these are two conditions for becoming any column a candidate key. Let us see the definition. Primary key is a set of one or more attribute that can uniquely identify a tuple within a relation. So this is a standard definition, but what does it mean? It means that when it can be able to uniquely identify each row, when there is no duplication and no null values. Okay, a field or column to be designated as primary key must satisfy two conditions. What are those two conditions? All the rows that are of that column must be unique. What does it mean? Different. So all the rows must be different. So the values in all the rows must be different from one another. Value must present for all the rows. What does it mean? No null values. You cannot say that value is not present for Prashant Singh. Client ID value is not present for Prashant Singh. Then client ID cannot become a primary key. Okay. So next, this is our primary key. We can also make primary key phone number. I will tell you what is the difference, why we have taken client ID as primary key but phone number not taken as primary key. Let us move ahead. That phone number can also be considered. Yes, that can also be considered. But what is the problem? I am going to tell you in a little while. All the all attribute combination inside a relation that can serve as primary key. If any column inside the table, that is relation, want to serve as primary key, these two conditions must be satisfied again. So candidate key and primary key must be selected out of candidate keys, because there are two candidates to become primary key. There is one candidate client and another candidate is what? Phone number. One of the candidate key may be selected as what? Primary key. One of the candidate key may be selected as what? Primary key. Okay, fine. So that we keep in mind. Let us see which particular column we have selected as primary key. Client ID. Why? Because it is a small number. All zeros can be omitted from leading position, and that is easy to compare. That's why we are going to use what? We are going to use client ID as primary key. So one of the column is selected as primary key. Now our job is what? Now our job is to find out the candidate key. Okay, so we have seen this phone number as candidate key and client ID as candidate key. One of the candidate is selected as primary key. The remaining one then is called what? Alternate key, because that has not been selected as primary key. So in starting, when till then primary key has not been selected, at that up to that time, what I can say? I can say there are two candidates that can become primary key. So both client ID and phone number are candidate key. But as soon as we designate client ID as primary key, phone number will become alternate key. Okay, so definition of alternate key is what? Once a field or column to be designated as primary key, all other candidate keys in that table is called alternate key. So out of, if your table is having more than one candidate key, one of the column may be selected for primary key. Remaining all the candidate keys become alternate key. I hope now it is clear. So if I write here candidate key, primary key, okay, and alternate key, I will write here alternate key. So alternate key is what? Phone number. Okay, and what are the candidate keys? So there are two candidate keys, client ID, okay, and phone. And what is primary key? So client ID is selected at primary key. So these are the keys which are available in that particular table. I hope it is clear now. Let us move to the next question. What do you understand by foreign key? Another important concept in this DBMS, that is foreign key, which establish the relation. It is also saying give a suitable example of foreign key from a table containing some meaningful data. So let us see the example. There are two tables, student detail and student marks table. Student detail will have student ID, name and course, and marks table is also having student ID. So this marks table is acting as foreign key in marks table, and student ID is primary key in student details. So they both are the common columns which are used to establish the relation between two tables. Let us see the definition. A foreign key sorry, creates a link between tables. It references the primary key of another table and links it. Okay, fine. Or we can say foreign key are the column of a table that points to the primary key of another table. Very simple. So if you read it properly, you will get the sense that a column, if it is pointing to the primary key of another table, then it will be called as foreign key in that particular table. As you see in marks table, student ID is pointing to the student ID of student detail table. Why we say it is pointing to the student table? Because it is a primary key in student table. That's why this is a master table and it is a slave table. Or you can say it is a child table. Okay, it is a child table, and here you have what? Parent table. This is parent table. I hope it is clear. They act as a cross reference between the tables. Okay, fine. Let us move to the next question. What is the difference between char and varchar? Usually they ask this question. So char is a short form of character and they both are. Varchar is a short form of variable character. They both are data type in SQL. Char is a fixed sized character. Let us see the definition. Char is used to occupy fixed memory irrespective of the actual length of start string, but varchar use memory equal to the actual length of the entered string. So if you have like name column here, okay, in your table, and if it is defined like char 50, okay, char 50, what will happen if I write name Sam in that, inserts SAM? So what is the length of my string? That is 3 characters are there. Remaining 47, what will be stored? 47 will be padding. Okay, padding will be there. Means what does it padding means? Padding means some useless information will be there, or just padded with some extra information into it which is not meaningful, and these 47 character spaces will be wasted. But if I declare the same column name with varchar 50, then what will happen? It will allocate only how many? 3 bytes memory, 1 byte for each character. Okay, remaining will not be allocated. So we have saved here 47 bytes in comparison to char data type, which is fixed. Okay, so we have saved how many? 47 byte. But the deciding how many bytes at runtime while storing requires some processing. So varchar is slow in comparison to char. Okay, fine. I hope you are getting what I am explaining. Okay, so char, where to utilize char then? Like section column. So if you are storing student data, section, we know that that is very small size column and only one letter is going to come. So 1 byte memory will always be there. It will not be more than 1 byte. So like A section, B section, C section. So I can say here, I can declare at char 1. Okay, like class column. So here maximum, like schools have up to 12th class. So we can say char 3. So such type of columns where variation in the data is very less or always data is going to come of a fixed size. In that case, we are going to use char. Wherever data length may vary, like address column, okay, or name column, in that case, we are going to use what? Varchar. I hope it is clear to all of you. Let us move to the next question. Are count star or count column name the same functions? If no, why not? So this is also very favorite question of CBSE. They used to ask this question. First thing I want to tell all of you that all the aggregate function, how many aggregate functions we have? We have like sum, okay, min, max, count, average. Okay, these are the aggregate function. They are also called multi-row function because they take multiple row into input and produce only single row in the output. Okay, so they all does not take null values into consideration. Null is not considered here, but there is a special case with count. When you use count like count star, so in that case this is going to consider null values. Fine, let us see the answer. No, count star and count column name are not same. While count star counts and returns the number of records in a table, count column name counts the number of records where the mentioned column name which are not null. So if in this mentioned column name, if any records are null, count is not going to count that. But count star is going to count all the records in the table. For that case, it is not going to consider a particular column. And never we the case in table where all columns are null. If all columns are null, that record should not be present there. Okay, so if any one column is having value, so that is going to be counted by count star. Count star counts all the records in the table, but count column name counts all the records in that column which are not null. Very important. I hope now it is clear what is the difference between count star and count column name. Count star counts number of record in the table, okay, but count column name counts number of records in that particular column which are not null. Let us move to the next question. Here count column name does not consider null values, whereas count star does. Okay, fine. Is null is equal to 0 in the database? If no, why not? So null is, what does null means in database? Null means value not present. Value not present for that particular cell. But what 0 means? 0 in itself is a value. If it is a temperature 0 degree Celsius, it is a very cold day. Okay, fine. So 0 is in itself is a value, but what null says? Null says value not present. So answer is no. Null means value not present, which is not equal to 0. I hope you are getting it. Let us move to the next question. Differentiate between order by and group by clause. Both are very important clauses of select command. Let us see the answer. Order by clause is used for ordering the output of select either in ascending or descending based on some column. Group by clause is used to group the similar values present in a particular column. Let us see the answer. Order by keyword sorts the result either in ascending or descending order. The clause sorts the result set in ascending order by default. In order to sort the result set in descending order, you have to use DESC keyword. So this is a syntax: select column name or column list from table name order by, and you can specify column comma separated. First it will order according to column 1. If column 1 will have similar values for 2 records, then it will check for column 2, and if column 2 is also having similar value for both the records, then it will check for column 3. Like that hierarchy will go, and by default it orders in ascending order. Remember, if you do not specify any of these ascending or descending, order by will order the result in ascending order. Okay, if you want it to be in descending order, definitely you have to put DESC there. Fine. Next is group by clause. Group by is very important clause for the select command. Group by statement is used. Okay, group by statement is used to group. Okay, let me erase all the annotation. So their group by statement is used to group all the rows that have same value. It is often used with the aggregate functions. I told you we have 5 aggregate functions: average, max, min, count. They have left one sum. Okay, one thing to remember about the group by clause is that the tuples are grouped based on the similarity between the attribute values of the tuples. So how we are going to group them? Based on the similarity. Like if you have a particular column in your table, maybe section. So section may be A section. So there are 4 records of A, then some records of B section, and then C, and then again A. So when you perform group by on this section, how many group will be created? A, B, and C. Only 3 group will be created. How they have created? Based on these values comparison. So these similar values are grouped to one group, and these 2 values are single values, so the different group has been created for them. I hope you are connecting or getting what I am trying to explain. Next, syntax: select function name. Remember, it is written there. Aggregate functions are used with group by, so you have to use aggregate function on the column on which you are performing group, and then you can select the same column or other columns also, but single row or multi-row cannot be selected at the same time, otherwise SQL will be giving error. From table name, where condition, order by, column name, and then you can perform group by. So group by, and then you can give the order by. So group by on first column, and if first column then values are same, then on that we can also have a second column group. So this is the group by which you can group the values in the column, similar values in the columns. After grouping them, you can count those values, you can find out the min, max, or average, whatever you want to do from the aggregate functions. How many aggregate functions we have? We have 5: sum, min, max, count, or average. Next question: write the difference between where and having clause. Very important. Where clause is simply used to put conditions, but when you want to put conditions on groups, you want to use what clause? Having clause. Let us see the answer. Where clause is used for selecting the rows based on the condition applied on the rows, while having clause is used to select the rows from the data given by the group by. So first you have to group the data based on some column, because group by clause is going to group the data, and on that group having clause will apply the condition. Where clause cannot apply the condition on group. Where clause is used to select particular rows that satisfy a condition, whereas having clause is used to in connection with aggregate functions. aggregate functions, because group by is going to create a group, and on these groups which particular functions can be used. These are the group functions that can be used to calculate count or calculate sum on that particular column. Let us move ahead, and here you have the example of the where clause. Select star from student where marks greater than 75. Very normal. So wherever you have the marks greater than 75, all those records are going to come out. But this statement shall display the records for all the students who have scored more than 75 marks. On the contrary, the statement select star from student group by houses, as if you are a KB student, you might know that there are 4 houses: Shivaji, Tagore, Ashoka and Raman. So select star from student. First you need to group based on houses having marks 70 greater than 75. So it will display all the records of the student group bys which are having marks greater than 75. Shall display the record of all those students grouped together on the basis of stream or houses, but only for those students who have scored marks greater than 75. Here should be, rather than stream, what should be written? Houses, or otherwise we can use streams also here. So streams are taken here in respect of humanities, science and commerce. Okay, streams are taken in context of humanities, science. Okay, okay, pen is not working properly. Science and commerce. Fine. Let us move to the next question. How is Equi-Join different from natural join? Very important question, used to come in your board exams. There is no difference, very slight difference between these two. Let us see the answer. Natural join is a join operation that creates an implicit join clause for you based on the common column in two tables being joined. Common column are the column with the same name in both the tables. It is important for natural join to have same column name for both the tables. Let us see the syntax, how you are going to write. Select star from student, natural join with course. So there must be a column in student and course table which will have the same name. For Equi-Join, it is a SQL join where we use the equal to sign to comparison operator while specifying the join condition. The common column from both the table will appear twice in the output. Okay, fine. If we select 2 times, so here if we are going to have like star, then that common column will appear 2 times. So course.cid equal to students.cid. So this will become Equi-Join. Equi-Join, it is not necessary that the name of the column will be same, but data type must follow the rule. Same data type should be same for both the columns on which equivalence should, is compared. Like for course ID in student table may be written, or in course table it may be written like course ID, and student table it may be written as CID, even though you can compare both, but both should have the same data type while specifying the table structure. I hope it is clear what is the difference between Equi-Join and natural join. The way of writing, another difference is the name of the column must be same for natural join for both the tables, but in Equi-Join it may possible that you have a different column name, but data type must follow through, or same data type should be there for both the columns. Let us see. Name the package for connecting Python with MySQL database. So there is a package called Python connector. So that package should be installed first in your system and then can be imported inside your program. What is the purpose of the cursor object? Cursor object is used to call the execute function which is going to fire your query in SQL database. So it is the object that helps to execute the SQL query and facilitate row by row processing of your records in the result set. So what is result set? Result set is a memory area where the return value of your query or the record which are fetched by your query is placed in the result set, from where you can do processing row by row in your Python program. What is the difference between commit and rollback? Commit command is used to make all the changes permanent in the database. So MySQL connection.commit method sends commit statement to MySQL server committing the current transaction. So whatever changes you have done in that particular time, that changes will become permanent. Rollback reverse the changes made by you in the current transaction. So for that current transaction, whatever changes you have made, that will be rolled back. Write the steps to perform an insert query in a database connectivity application. Table student, values are roll number, name and age. Write the code for database connectivity. I will tell you, username you can consider as root and password you can also consider as root. For database connectivity, we need to call the connect function. First we are going to import. So this is our first job, mysql.connector as mydb. This is a alias name given for this whole thing. So we need not to write this again and again. At that place, mysql.connector, I can use mydb. Next, we will create a connection object. This is our second job, mydb.connect, and this connect will take 3 parameters. Fourth one is optional, that is database, host, user and password. Then with the help of this connection object, we are going to do our third job, create the cursor object. Cursor object created, and with the help of cursor object, we are going to execute this is our fourth job. With the help of cursor object, we are going to call execute method, which will send our query to the MySQL server. Fine, we have sent our query to the MySQL server, and then we are going to make changes permanent which we have done. So for that, commit function is utilized, and which is also called with the cursor object only. I hope it is clear. What is our aggregate functions in SQL? I told you already, there are 5 aggregate functions. Example, average, count, sum, min, max. Aggregate function in SQL performs calculation on multiple values and return a single value. That's why they are also called multi-row functions. Aggregate function ignores null values when it performs the calculation, except for the count function, because I already explained you, count star will consider null values, but count column name will not consider null values. Column name will not consider null values. Fine, let us see the next question. Differentiate between fetchone and fetchmany. These are two methods to fetch a record from the result set and process them one by one. Methods with suitable example for each to retrieve data from the database. Let us see the answer. Fetchone, the method returns one row or a single record at the time. It will return none if no more rows or records are available. None is a special literal in Python, none, which used to show no value is present. Like in SQL, null is used, null. They both are not equal to 0. Here is the code for fetch 1. We are going to take an employee number in the input and fire a query, select star from employee, where employee number and that is supplied in e number, and will execute that query. Result is going to come and stored in my cursor object or result set. Fetch one is going to get you the first record. If row is equal to none, not equal to none, means something has been fetched from the result set, then we know in that record there are 3 values, name, department and salary. So these 3 are printed. This is an example code. If you have done such codes or seen my video like case based question on database, you are able to understand this code. Else, if nothing has been returned by fetch one, print employee number not found. Okay, next is what? Let me remove the annotation first so that there should be space for next. Fetch all fetches all the rows for a query result. An empty list is returned if there is no records to fetch from the cursor. Okay, fine. So this is the code for that. We have wrote the query select star from employee my cursor dot execute query rows my cursor dot fetch all. Now we have all the records in this variable rows, and this is also in the form of tuple, and we can use for loop to loop over that or iterate over that. And as I have told you, there are three things in each record: name, department, and salary. So we can print all these three one by one, and when record exists we will come out of the loop. Okay, so guys, so that's it in this video. Thank you very much for patient listening. Please do like, comment, share, and subscribe. Have a nice day. If you have any doubt, comment. And these videos are helping you a little bit at least. Please do like, share, and subscribe. That gives me a strength to make more content. If you like the content, please do subscribe.